The Ice Age movie franchise made over $3 billion and one of the most successful movie franchises in history. And there's a reason for that. Yes, there's the lovable characters, the mammoth, the saber, the sloth, but people love to see ancient history, to see what the world once was before we were here. And today, I'm going to take you to one of the greatest natural resources in the world, a place with tens of thousands of years of history. I'm your host, Joel Hawkins with The American Dream, and today we're going to visit the Mammoth Site in Hot Springs, South Dakota. Let's go check it out. When you're accustomed to living in an area, sometimes you forget how special that place really is. And for those of us who live in Hot Springs, sometimes we forget that we live right next to one of the world's largest mammoth digs. And today we're going to be joined by Kelly Lubers, and she's going to help us learn a little bit more about the Mammoth Site. So Kelly, thank you for joining us today.
Of course, happy to be here.
Yeah, maybe you could tell us, how was the Mammoth Site originally discovered?
So the Mammoth Site was first uncovered in 1974. Originally this area was supposed to be a housing development, but during the construction, bulldozer ran over some of our bones and revealed mammoth material. And so from there, excavations started and we kept finding more and more and more mammoths. And eventually that land became what we have today here of the Mammoth Site, Hot Springs, South Dakota. So we are a museum that preserves our mammoths in situ, so visitors can come in and see our mammoths right there as we dig them.
Yeah, nice. What other species have you found here as well? Anything that was unique just to the Mammoth Site?
Most of what we find here are mammoths, mostly Columbian mammoths. We do have 2 woolly mammoths that we found, but we do have other critters as well. Some are extinct, so examples of that would be Hemiakinia and Camelops, so an extinct llama and camel. But there are some critters that we find that are still around the area today, such as coyotes and wolves and rabbits. One interesting one is the white-tailed prairie dog. Oh. So today we actually have the black-tailed prairie dog, and the white-tailed prairie dog, it's still around, but just not in this area today. So it's interesting to see how the ranges have actually shifted over time.
Yeah, that is interesting, yeah. A lot of people see this, they're very interested in fossils and digging of bones. Is there other ways that people can participate in the Mammoth Site?
Absolutely, we have a pretty comprehensive educational programming catalog is how I describe it. So we do work with the local schools where they can do hands-on science with us. During the summer, we have our Atlatl program and our family and junior paleontology dig programs, where in our Atlatl program they get to kind of learn about Ice Age hunting methods and kind of see, some of basically hands-on archaeology with that. And then with our paleontology dig programs, they get to dig with us in replica dig boxes for replicas of the fossils that we find here.
Oh, very nice. Now, one of the things that is my favorite thing here is that giant short-faced bear.
Oh, yes.
You found a couple of those, is that right?
Yeah. So from what we have of our bones, we probably have 2 individuals, just because we found 2 humerus, or the humerus, the arm bone, from the site. And so because we have those 2, they probably came from 2 different individuals. But what I think is probably the most awesome specimen that we have from the giant short-faced bears, we actually have a skull, an entire skull preserved, and then both sides of the jaw too. So we've got a complete skull of one of our
Very nice. Is that on display?
No, that's downstairs in our collection space. But we do have some of the bones from the giant short-faced bear up on display right now. So tibia, so a leg bone, and then part of a pelvis.
Yeah. Anything else about the Mammoth Site that you think that people might like to know?
Well, in addition to our in situ site that visitors can walk around, we also have an exhibit hall, which talks a little bit more about not just our site in general, but the greater Ice Age Pleistocene. Yeah. So how our site fits into that story of what was going on during the Ice Age. Yeah. We also have areas to show the visible research that we're doing, including the preparation lab, where we have windows where people can see what our preparators are working on and be able to talk to them. Yeah. And then our collection space downstairs, where we have some of our specimens out on display through a window, so visitors can actually see what happens with anything that's been taken out of the bone bed and put into that long-term storage.
Well, it's an amazing site. Thank you guys very much for sharing it with us, and appreciate you joining us today. So the next time you're in South Dakota, or if you haven't been, come to South Dakota, make sure you visit the Mammoth Site and bring the whole family. There's activities for all the age groups here. And there's no cartoon characters that you get to enjoy, but you actually get to see the true size and the actual remains of these magnificent creatures that used to inhabit our planet. I'm your host, Joel Hawkins, with The American Dream. Until next time.